So from 2008 to 2012, 6 MCU movies were released, and all of them were part of Phase 1, which later became the foundation for the upcoming Phase 2. Now, in Phase 1, we see many different themes. On one side, there's the futuristic technology of genius billionaire Iron Man. On the other side, there's the magic, politics, and power struggles in Thor's life. And thirdly, Captain America gave us glimpses of World War, but in Phase 1, we get to see more than 100 characters. Now, we obviously can't talk about all of them, but I've made a list of the top 10 most powerful beings, and today we're going to talk about that. At number 10, Ivan Vanko, also known as Whiplash. He appeared in Iron Man 2. Now, even though he's an underrated character, we can't ignore the fact that he's a genius. What took Howard and Tony Stark decades to perfect, Ivan Vanko managed to create inside a Russian cave, and then he made weapons out of it. According to Tony, the arc reactor had very limited power, but despite that, Whiplash cut through F1 cars like butter. And if that wasn't enough, even the Mark V armor got badly damaged during the fight. Later, Ivan upgraded his technology and took on both Iron Man and War Machine at once. Ivan was a perfect rival for Tony Stark because it's no easy task to almost destroy Tony Stark's legacy and then to create armor that looks even more powerful after taking on combined attacks from both Iron Man and War Machine. At number 9, Red Skull. Now, we all know that the super soldier serum makes the good better and the bad worse. Steve Rogers falls under the good category, but Red Skull tops the list of evil super soldiers. Red Skull already desired power and world domination. That's why he did become powerful, but we also saw massive changes in his physical appearance. Yet even after that, he didn't stop. Red Skull made Hydra a global-level threat, and strength-wise was equal to Captain America. But what made Red Skull even more dangerous was that he got his hands on the Tesseract, which held the Space Stone. Using it, he created weapons that could turn entire armies into dust. Though those weapons were never used to their full potential, during the fight, Red Skull held the Tesseract in his hand. At that moment, he had cosmic-level power, but he couldn't handle it, and the Tesseract turned him into the gatekeeper of the Soul Stone. At number 8, Captain America. Now, for 70 years of Phase 1, Cap was frozen in ice, but during World War II, Cap was the strongest human we had. Now, the super soldier serum was given to other humans too, but none became like Captain America. Along with being strong, Cap also had tactical knowledge and leadership skills. He overpowered someone like Red Skull, and in 2012, Cap was the one who led the Avengers. He has a vibranium shield, which works both as attack and defense, but even rarer than that shield is Captain America's willpower. We all know how weak Steve was before taking the serum, but even then, he never ran away out of fear. And after the serum, Cap's willpower got even more enhanced. If in 2012, Thanos himself had appeared, Cap would have been ready to fight the Mad Titan alone. At number 7, Iron Man. Now, Tony Stark was already a genius billionaire and a philanthropist, but an accident made him Iron Man. In Phase 1, Tony was constantly pushing the limits of his technology. That's why we don't get to see very powerful armors in Phase 1. From 2008 to 2012, Tony made a total of 7 suits. The first one in Afghanistan, known as Mark I, then Mark II had no firepower. It was just built to test systems and flight capability. This was later turned into War Machine. Mark III was Tony's first full battle suit. Mark IV was worn during his fight with War Machine. Mark V was the weakest suit, built only for self-defense. It had neither flight ability nor missiles, only repulsors as weapons. Then came Mark VI, used during his fight with Thor, and finally, Mark VII, which worked on retractable technology and was activated using bracelets on Tony's hands. But we never got to see the full potential of Mark VII, because when the Chitauri attacked, Mark VII was still in the development phase. At number 6, Laufey. He's the king of the frost giants and Loki's biological father. Now, Loki never got the respect he deserved. Yes, Laufey is not as strong as Odin, but centuries ago, he came to planet Earth with his entire army to conquer it. Odin himself had to intervene to stop the frost giants. Laufey can manipulate and control ice. He even teamed up with Loki to kill Odin and take over Asgard. Everything was going smoothly until Loki betrayed him. Laufey is underrated, but he's still a Skyfather, and when the time comes, he can scale at least planetary level. At number 5, Abomination. Now, Emil Blonsky was an experienced Marine, but General Ross and Blonsky had only one mission: to capture the Hulk by any means. So Blonsky took the super soldier serum, but even that wasn't enough to stop the Hulk. Then, out of frustration, he took help from Dr. Stearns and had Bruce Banner's gamma blood injected into him, and the combination of serum and gamma blood turned Emil into a monster. Despite his size, he moved fast, destroyed buildings, and could lift and throw heavy objects. Missiles had no effect on him, and if his body got damaged, he would heal automatically. On top of that, Abomination came from a military background, which improved his fighting skills even more. That's why at many points, Abomination seemed more powerful than Hulk. Now technically, Abomination doesn't have any major weakness, but every time Hulk and Abomination fight, Hulk wins 8 out of 10 times. Because the angrier Hulk gets, the stronger he becomes, and that ability Abomination does not have. At number 4, the Destroyer. Now, the Destroyer isn't a monster or a human. It's an enchanted magical armor that belongs to Asgard. Odin's world holds many important things, and to protect all of them, the Asgardians created the Destroyer, which only the king of Asgard can control. This armor runs on magic, so hacking it is impossible. Plus, the beam that shoots from its mouth is extremely destructive because it uses the same energy that Odin uses, Odin Force. Now, the Destroyer has only one weakness. It's designed like a tank, so it never tries to protect itself from attacks. Whether you throw a car at it or Thor's hammer, it absorbs all attacks, but if the attack is too powerful, even the Destroyer's body can be damaged. At number 3, Hulk. I still remember, back in 2012, me and my friends watched the Avengers only for Hulk. Back then, we had no idea what armor Iron Man was wearing or what Thor's hammer could do. All fans cared about was Hulk's aggression. In 2008, Hulk beat Abomination like a dog. Nobody knew that, but in 2012, Hulk smashed the Chitauri, ragdolled Loki, and killed a Leviathan with just one punch, and that's all anyone remembered. And in Phase 1, Hulk really was insanely powerful. Physically, he was the strongest Avenger. Later, we learned that Thor could match Hulk, but without Mjolnir. Even Thor had an almost impossible time defeating Hulk, and this Hulk had very little thinking ability, so he would hit anyone without hesitation. That's why whether it was gods, billionaires in high-tech suits, Thanos' smartest army, or even S.H.I.E.L.D., everyone preferred to stay away from Hulk. At number 2, Loki and Thor. Now, I know at this time, Loki wasn't physically that powerful. Yes, he was stronger than Captain America, but Hulk easily beat the god of mischief. But Loki still rivaled Thor in strength and was a mastermind. Loki even manipulated the Avengers. Thor has escaped death many times, and in 2012, Loki's illusions were so real that it was hard to tell which one was the real Loki. But tied for second position is Thor. Look, Thor has always been physically stronger than Loki, and Loki could only match him because Frigga taught him magic. But look at Thor 1's final battle or the fight on Stark Tower in 2012. Loki physically matched Thor and even outsmarted him at times. Maybe Thor was holding back because in Phase 1 he believed he was the god of hammers, that his powers came from Mjolnir. But this same Thor shook the planet of the Frost Giants, broke the Bifrost Bridge, matched Hulk, and took down 3 Leviathans at once. Those are major feats. And finally, at number 1, Odin. Now, until Ragnarok, the All-Father Odin was feared across the universe. Of course, Odin was extremely powerful, but even the Asgardian army was not to be messed with. Frost Giants or the Dark Elf army all stayed defeated. Even someone like Thanos waited until Odin died before starting to collect the Infinity Stones. The Mad Titan had no shortage of armies, But even he didn't mess with Odin. In fact, until Marvel's Phase 2, Odin maintained cosmic balance on a universal level, and protecting 9 realms is no small task. Odin is the oldest Asgardian, so yes, he was physically the strongest, but if we read Thor's novels, we find out that Odin's Odin Force is a planet-destroying force, meaning if he wanted, Odin could have turned an entire planet to dust without opening the Bifrost. And we haven't even talked about his feats. He defeated Surtur with the Eternal Flame, kept the Frost Giants in check, and when the Bifrost broke, used dark magic to send Thor from Asgard to Midgard. And with Odin, today's list comes to an end. Now, if you think a character should have made the list, you can tell me in the comments section. And you'll find the chronological order of Phase 1 in the description below. So I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.